Are we ready?
Well, let's give it a shot.
Welcome to the Sports Wrap. He's George. I'm Ringer, and George, this might be the last time we get to be this close with the new restrictions as we record this on Friday the 20th.
I almost put a fire in the fireplace, but I thought, no, the next time we do this, it'll be dead of winter, and maybe we'll all get a shot or something, and we can, do something a little closer. But yeah, for safety's sake, and we take it upon ourselves and our families to do it like this a little bit. But
well, yeah, we've been doing it for a while here. We've had some people ask us some questions if we feel safe doing it. Mm-hmm. I think we feel safe doing it. So yeah, it's. We're hoping we're not trying to flaunt it or anything else. We know what we probably should be doing, and but at the same time, this is where we're at. So
well, that's right.
Probably next week we'll probably do it via Zoom just to be safe, right?
Hey, we'll come up with something, and it's. I don't have a lot of creative juice. The sports world's going to continue
to go on, not like the last time when everything just went.
No, there's sports.
There's sports to talk about.
There's sports to talk about.
Where would you want to start tonight?
Any place you want. I'm ready to go in any direction.
Well, at the top of my list, I've got the Masters.
Oh yeah.
On the top of my list. Did you watch some?
I did, and Mr. Johnson was absolutely incredible, and the guys that were chasing him weren't bad either.
Yeah. Johnson's been dialed in the last. Somewhere during the thing they said in his last 5 tournaments he's been first once or first twice and three times in second place, and I'm like, that's like Tiger-esque.
Yes, it is.
He's in the zone right now. He shoots minus 20, which is the record, and I know some people say it was a different course. Things, with it being in November instead of April, different kind of grass, different conditions, everything else, but.
The nuances of the story. His brother being the caddy, and this whole family thing, and on top of that, that is the best beard in the PGA. So but you sat around and you looked at the scores, and then you sit down and watch him play, and you say he can't continue this, and he did, and he just swatted it.
Yeah, and the players absolutely obliterated the course Thursday and Friday with the rain and everything that had come in. They was like shooting darts, and they really did some good things. Of course, there was some tough luck. Tigers dumping it in the water 3 times on 12 on Sunday, and
you don't want to run that. You don't want to run that hole too quick because. And after a while, I saw him do the 3rd time. He was actually laughing.
Yeah. Well, what else could you do?
Yeah.
That's not normal.
No.
He said somewhere on Sunday, Tiger did now. My body can't do what it used to be able to do, and I'm kind of like, okay. So he's admitting.
Yeah.
At 45, 6, whatever he is.
What a senior pro he will be.
Ooh, yeah. Yeah, absolutely. So, yeah, it was enjoyable.
It was.
The azaleas weren't there in full bloom. Everything else looked pretty normal, minus the crowd also not being there. But it was the Masters, and I have to admit I sat down and watched a good share of it over the weekend. I didn't watch much on Thursday and Friday, but I did watch a lot on Saturday and Sunday, and it felt right, even though it was November.
It did, and Sue says, you're watching the golf? I says, why do you think I watch golf? And she says, because it's so nice there. And you're watching them, and
I tell the kids at school, they said, how can you watch golf? I said, this isn't golf. This is the Masters.
This is the Masters.
This is what I say when we in the springtime, because it's different. There's a different feel to it. The players feel different. I think the TV coverage is different. Everything is different, and so yeah.
What can I say? It's not full contact golf, but it is pretty good golf.
It's pretty good golf.
Yeah.
I'll move to the Vikes next.
We can go to the Vikings.
3rd straight win on Monday night, and
in the paper they said the win was ugly. I didn't see it as such. I thought that the defense played pretty well, and Cousins took care of the ball.
So I want to ask you a question, as long as you brought up the defense right off the bat. Did the Vikings defense play that good, or is the Chicago offense that horrible?
Well, I think the defense just stymied them.
Okay,
but they weren't playing that well to begin with.
Wow, Chicago is oof the Mackey. I mean, to think that I believe we're 5-1 at one point.
Yeah.
And now they're 6-4 or whatever it is.
They have no idea where they're going with the ball.
Yeah, it's just stunning to what if Cordell Patterson hadn't returned that kickoff to open the second half, I don't know what. Yeah, Chicago had what, minus 2 yards or 2 yards or something like that in the third quarter.
They were going absolutely nothing with it.
It was stunning. Yet when the Vikings had the bad snap on the extra point and only went ahead 19-13, I'm like, they're going to lose 20-19, and this whole Kirk Cousins can't win on Monday night thing is going to continue to.
Well, and it was amazingly enough, it was the special teams. I mean, they made 3 mistakes. They give up a long punt. I
thought Zimmer was going to. I thought Zimmer was going to fire the special teams coach in the middle of the game. I thought he was just going to tell him, "Get the heck out of here. I'll take it from here."
He was mad, and there was a long snap overs on a point after. You can't consistently win in the NFL with mistakes like that.
No, I played college football at Masabi, and we always were told, people say special teams is only 20% of the game.
Yeah.
And no, it's an even third, because it's that important. Because if you screw up once in the special teams game, it usually is going to cost you a touchdown.
On top of that, it's an opportunity for a big play. And it's, so you have 5, maybe 6 opportunities. Those are 5 or 6 plays. And as you know, and we devised many punt and kick returns, we did it for effect.
Yeah. It's something that's got to be straightened away. And what was it? 4 weeks ago, 3 weeks ago, I sat at this spot right here. You've heard me say this a lot lately. And I said the Vikings are done. When they let Ngannou go to the Ravens, haven't even heard of what he's done with the Ravens. That shows you how much he was doing. I don't know what's changed. That's my issue. I don't know what's different. What's different about this team that they've beaten the other 3 teams in their division the last 3 weeks? What's changed?
I'm going to tell you what the big thing I see has changed is they didn't have those 3 or 4 preseason games.
Huh?
And so there were
still trying to figure things out.
Still trying to figure. Well, it's just a fine line, and we were even talking about the Gophers have the same problem. They shifted Bateman. I mean, so the same wide receiver, the same guy throwing quarterback. No, they turned him into the slot. And he picked over where Tyler Johnson was. Right. And he's just, I can't say he's a half a step off. I'm sure he's probably the fastest guy on the team.
Right.
But he just doesn't have that timing right down. And they're different routes he's running. As when he was a good counter to Tyler Johnson.
Right.
And now he has to find, Ottman Bell apparently has to be the counter to him, but he has to run those patterns. He hasn't been able to do that. Or not that well.
There you go. Not that well. Yeah. And, so the Vikes, like I said, here's the only thing on offense that I can see has changed in the last 3 weeks.
Yeah.
They put Ezra Cleveland in.
They did.
Now, can one offensive guard make that much difference?
6'7", 315. Yeah, he does. No,
well,
what he does.
But Drew Samea was 6'7", 305 or something.
He could, but he wasn't that good on that pass block. I tell you, Ezra Cleveland is going to be a very fine lineman. And as long as he stays healthy, he's young. He moves really well. See how agile he is in there, and it's just he's picking up his linebackers, and that's all he has to do. That's all he has to do. But I think that was a big change.
The other thing about the game on Monday night that kind of puzzled me a little bit, if you go back 2 weeks ago to when they played Detroit, they had Delvin way back, 9 yards deep.
Yeah.
They turned around, they were tossing him the ball, and they were letting him do this. Then on Monday night against Chicago, they had him right next door to Cousins, just like this, side by side, and they were asking him to run sideways and then turn north and south. And I'm like, why are we changing what we're doing?
I don't know, but I tell you, if you want to watch somebody rush the football, Minneapolis is the place to go these days. You got Dalvin Cook for the Vikings, and you got Abraham for the Gophers. These guys can scoot and fun to watch. Yeah. And so and you know me, I kind of like the run game. Watching these guys go, you just think, ooh, and it's right now it's saving the Vikings, and also, they're able to go just a little bit better directions with Cousins in his passes. He's got backs coming out of the backfield, at least once in a while, and there's
well, they're starting to use their tight ends a little bit more.
And Jefferson is
going to be probably the rookie of the year, and when all is said and done, with those kind of numbers, if he continues to do that for another 8 games for the Vikings, holy smoke!
No, he's doing real well, and he comes up like, one of those twisting catches where you, just all the time up in the air.
You don't teach that stuff.
No, you don't.
That's God given.
No, I'd have hurt myself trying to do that.
So, do the Vikings make the playoffs after they were 1-5, and I said they were done? They were gonna can the season. They were looking for the number 1 overall pick. Now they make the playoffs because the NFL added an 8th team.
I thought the Dallas Cowboys were going to be one of the best teams in the NFL, and they're rebuilding everything.
Yeah, but you didn't know Dak Prescott was going to get his ankle ripped in 19 places.
But even with that, I thought if the Vikings go into Dallas, they're going to get a chance of beating those guys. And I don't know, it's like New Orleans. They seem to have their number. And it's just they don't ever go into Dallas and get beat up. Yeah, that just doesn't happen.
That's true.
And so I'm thinking, and I will watch the game. It will be fun to watch.
Yeah, that'd be interesting on Sunday. I don't know. Is it a noon game or is it a 3:30?
It's a 3:30 game.
It's a 3:30 game. Okay. I can plan my day accordingly then.
That's on Fox, and then that night, Kansas City and Las Vegas, and that is going to be
a good ball
going to be a good ball game. Tennessee and Baltimore are the first game at noon, in Atlanta and New Orleans. Why Atlanta and New Orleans? I don't know.
Well, the New Orleans game became a whole lot more important after Drew Brees broke about 94 ribs or whatever it was.
Oh, did you see that shot he took? He got hit by a truck. It hurt. I mean, oh!
And then, of course, the whole thing came out about the NFL's got to protect their quarterbacks. The NFL's got to protect their quarterbacks. And I'm like, geez, Louise, you guys do everything to try to keep these guys in the game. I mean, I understand there's a limited number of quarterbacks, but this is football. This isn't two-hand touch or flag. This is football. They got to get hit.
Defensive tackles are really on the field. Vicious creature.
Well, how about Foles the other night in the Vikings game? It didn't even look like he got thrown down that hard, but man, he must have took a shot.
He must have. Yeah, I felt real bad for him.
I'm sensing some sarcasm there, George.
Yes,
I'm not sure.
It's embarrassed, and I shouldn't say that because my friend Julie's watching it, and Julie loves the Bears.
She does love the Bears.
She does love the Bears.
And the Bronco, you don't want to mess with the ghost of Bronco too much.
I've got more pictures of Bronco in this house than I have of my own father. So it's it's actually probably more than my kids.
Well, I see you brought the Gopher paper up on top. Is it time to move on to Gopher football?
We can.
Or do you want to talk more NFL first?
Let's just go through the NFL. C.J. Hams isn't going to play.
Yeah, that's going to make things a little more interesting for old Dalvin Cook on Sunday.
And let's see here. But, we were talking about the special teams. But, there's nothing like messing up your game plans but screwing up on special teams. Those are sometimes 14-point turnarounds.
I would suspect the Vikings have spent a little more time working on special teams this week.
They have.
Especially with it being one day less to prepare.
No, it's but I tell you, C.J. Hams I love those blocking fullbacks, and he does it very well.
I was just talking before we started the show here. I was had Eli at hockey practice, and I was talking with another individual, and we got talking about the Vikings, and I said, I thought C.J. Ham had one of his worst games on Monday night, and I just wonder, and I'm pure speculation, was he already feeling under the weather?
I wouldn't be surprised.
There were a lot of blocks when he kind of came up to the linebacker where he used to, you kind of get your shoulder pad into him. There was more of the hands up, like he didn't.
That's not CJ's style.
So there were just some runs where I thought Delvin had a hole there, CJ ran through it, and the hole closed down because CJ didn't finish the block. And like I said, I love CJ Ham.
He wasn't at practice on Thursday, and he did the walkthrough on Friday, and so it's
yeah. So like I said, it's.
I hope he comes back. Good Minnesota boy. We like to see him do well.
We like to see our Minnesota boys do well. We'll talk a little bit more about Minnesota boys in a few minutes. I'm sure.
Will. Yeah. Hey, I'm ready.
You ready to talk Gopher football? Let's talk about last week before we talk about this week.
Last week.
Can you talk about it?
I can.
I don't know if I can. Still.
It is tough, but the headline on Sunday's paper was, or Saturday's paper was, Iowa pigs out on Gopher defense, and I laughed to beat the band on that because I was talking about a bacon shortage, and they came up here and brought that pig and then took it home with them, and did it in incredible style.
And I understand what those writers are talking about. They went after the Gopher defense again. Yeah. Chip Scoggins went after the Gophers in the Minneapolis paper again today, the defense. I was more disappointed, I think, in the offense because the offense was 3 and out.
Yeah,
3 and out. 3 and out. Well, I don't care how good your defense is or how bad your defense is. If the defense comes off the field and then immediately has to go back onto the field, there's not much going on, and there was not much going on with the Gopher offense. So, yes, was I disappointed in the defense? Absolutely. I was more disappointed in the offense that we couldn't score till like 19 seconds left.
On the front page of the sports page, where's the offense is what it led off. Great big headlines. And what's happened about each game, Morgan's getting about 60 yards less than he was last year. Mm-hmm. And last year, and it's not because, Mo Abraham is keeping him in the game. He is the leading rusher in the country.
But last week, it was, we like 3 yards or 4 yards in the cloud of dust. Last week it was 2, and we were fortunate to get 2. So I know there's all kinds of excuses, but man,
like Abraham, he's had 5 games in a row of 140 yards or more since the Outback Bowl, and he had that again. If he does that again, and there's no reason for him not to, because Purdue, they got a pretty good offense and they got a couple of other things going, but they got some cracks in that defense, and I think they can pop through.
Okay. Well, I hope you're right on that because I got a horrible feeling about this as the pregame is on over the top of the chair here as the Gophers are getting ready to take on Purdue. I'm nervous. I'm scared.
Well, this is what happened.
If you would have told me that the Gophers could be 1-4, with the schedule that we had, that we were going to, obviously losing to Maryland in overtime. Okay, Iowa, fine. Michigan, maybe. Now we know what we know about Michigan, not so much. Man, if they go to 1-4.
Well, I think, and
we were talking Rose Bowl.
We have to come to some actualizations here. That maybe last year we saw the Gophers heading for the top tier of the Big Ten and be up there with the top 3 or 4, and they reached for it. They fell a little short. And right now, it's going to be a long grass back up the top.
Well,
when was the last time we had 6 people off the defense drafted in the NFL?
True.
And that's kind of where they were hurting on that. On the other hand, the offense has been sluggish. I think in order for the Gophers to succeed against Purdue or any of the rest of the teams, all aspects of their game has to come up a step. And it's from kicking on down. They dropped one game on a missed field goal that they shouldn't have missed. There have been some questionable play calling.
And that's with the new offense coordinator and the whole business. And of course, if we're feeling bad, George, at 1-3, can you imagine how they're feeling at Penn State?
No, I really have no idea.
The Gophers are used to being 1-3 for the last 50 years. We understand that.
We understand that.
Penn State doesn't understand what they're going through very well. And then there was the little blurb that I saw come out today on Twitter about that the head coach told one of the players, don't report an incident to the police. And now it's going to get even more interesting at Penn State because now they're going to be under the microscope, not for only not being very good, but now all of a sudden, here we go that we're brushing things under the carpet again. And we're going to look the other way on things, and that's not going to pass muster at Penn State. There's going to be some heads that are going to roll.
Well, this is the situation as I see it.
Not that I'm disappointed about that, by the way, folks.
Purdue right now is pretty hot. They've only lost one game. That was Northwestern, and that was only to a touchdown. And so that was their first loss. What I'm going to watch is Xander Harvith. He's 6'3". He's 230-pound running back. He's averaging 84 yards a game, but he's doing it at a 5-yard clip. And so this guy is a buster, and he can catch the ball. Also, Rondell Moore might be back, and he's one of the finest receivers in the country. And if he's back to anywhere near the snuff, he could be a factor in the football game.
Okay.
Let's see what I got is. Phil Howard's going to fill in for Benjamin St. Just. He's out because of COVID-19, and the secondary's got some serious challenges, and so they're just going to have to pick up the offense. The offense has to get some rhythm. This is 3-0.
When's Daniel coming back? That's what I want to know.
Yeah, that's right.
When's Big Daniel
He
coming?
helps the rhythm.
Yes.
And it's just like what Purdue, in order to win, has to get the lead like Iowa did. And hang on, because Minnesota is capable of scoring. They're not a bad football team. Nope. And so, and maybe one of these days they will just bust loose. We've seen possibilities of that.
I see we're wearing the gold unis tonight.
Oh, yeah?
Yeah, I can see.
Oh, there they are.
So
there they are.
I can't imagine. I remember when I was with the Gophers 30 years ago, we had a maroon jersey, we had a white jersey.
Yeah, that was
And if you really wanted to get crazy, you wore the maroon pants with the maroon jerseys.
Ooh,
one time a year you'd do that. Now we've got like 8 types of jerseys, 47 different types of helmets. You never know, even you couldn't recognize your team anyway.
And
they look good.
And there'll be one in camouflage. It's
and they look good doing it though.
Yeah.
So.
Anything
else on Gopher football?
Gopher football.
Anything else?
No, I can't think of anything else. I wish they'd settle down, and I wish they'd win a football game and finish out. They still have. I mean, I don't know. Did I write down what some of the? I didn't do it, but I had some of the other games.
Some of the other college football games that haven't been postponed or canceled.
Yeah,
due to the
Maryland hasn't played in a couple of weeks. And they're canned against Michigan State, and they've been like 16 of 62 games have been called this week in the country. 15 of 59 last week. So,
you want to talk about your Black Knights at all?
The Black Knights are playing Georgia Southern, and they're playing up in Michie Stadium, and
they didn't like the heat last week in New Orleans.
They sure didn't. They didn't like those two. They didn't like those 2-lane defensive ends crashing down either. It's just there's specific things that you have to do to counter a triple option, and 2-lane figured that one out, and they did it. There was a rough.
And then Tulane went and lost to Tulsa or beat Tulsa last night. I can't remember.
I don't know if I
didn't stay up late enough. I went to bed. It was been a long week.
Yeah,
so.
No. So
I know it went to overtime, but
I do know this: Georgia Southern's not a bad football team.
No, the Army will have their hands full.
They will have their hands full.
They will have their hands full.
Yeah.
Yeah, I can't honestly say there's a college football game that's on the radar because you just don't know what's going to get shut down. You don't know what's going to get played. So I think the TV networks are piecemealing it together and showing stuff that they weren't whatevering. So
no, but okay, here we go. Indiana is going to play at Ohio State at 11.
That will be interesting for about a quarter and a half, and then Indiana's going to wake up from this perfect dream that they've been in.
Just dream a little bit. Anyway,
I would love to see them beat Ohio State.
And then one game at 2:30 is Wisconsin and Northwestern.
Yeah,
I think that's going to be all right.
All right.
And Iowa and Penn State. I'm not sure what's going to happen there, but people will start jumping out of buildings at Penn State pretty quick. And it's and nationwide we got Oklahoma and Oklahoma State. I love that football game.
Yeah, that'll be good. That might be worth a little time.
Michigan and Rutgers, and we can top off the evening because it starts at 10 o'clock at night, right when I'm getting warmed up. Boise State at Hawaii, and Boise State, so I can find another 6'7", 300-pound offensive lineman. They seem to come out there pretty good. We've got two people on the Vikings from that Boise State team, and they've both made serious contributions.
Yeah.
So I'm feeling real good about that. Then at 3:25, there's going to be Dallas and the Vikings. That is going to be a dandy, and that night is Kansas City and Las Vegas. I think
your weekend is full.
I think that Kansas City and Las Vegas game might be a dandy.
Yeah, if Vegas shows up like we know they can occasionally with John Gruden,
yes.
I'm sure John will have his mask on this week. He probably could afford another $150,000 fine, but he probably doesn't want to lose another draft pick because he likes his draft picks, and he doesn't like when they get taken away. And the NFL kind of told Vegas, we're serious about this, wearing the mask thing.
Yeah.
And you're going to do it, or we're going to fine you. And then I was shocked when they took a draft pick away. Wow.
Yeah.
That's
huge.
That's serious business.
Monday night, L.A. Rams and the Tampa Bay Buccaneers. Now, I'm interested in that because it's kind of a hunt. That's a hunt between Aaron Donald and Tom Brady and Donald.
I'm on Aaron Donald.
And Aaron Donald is really looking good these days. He's just, he's a
beast.
He is a beast. There was a time, a long time ago, when Alan Page was the most valuable player in the NFL as a defensive tackle, which at the time was unheard of. And here was this guy weighed 215 pounds. Nobody could block, and he put on such an incredible rush and contained so well, and he deserved to be MVP.
Doesn't happen.
It doesn't.
Doesn't happen.
If they're the only other tackle, well, there have been a couple of other ones, but Donald, he's pretty good.
Yeah, he's pretty good.
I enjoyed watching him.
Shall we move on to the NBA?
We can go to the NBA. Yeah.
Did the Wolves do right in drafting Anthony Edwards?
I think they did.
I have said this more than once. I'll say it here on this show. It's unfortunate that the Wolves had the number 1 overall pick and there was not a superstar stud LeBron James type, and I know LeBron James is only those type of players only come along once in a whatever, but there wasn't even somebody even remotely close to that. I was kind of hoping, my Uncle Paul said they should trade. He was hoping that's what they did. I was hoping they were going to trade out and maybe get a stud from somebody else who would, but there was no stud. Nobody was going to come up and take number 1 because there was no horse there.
But I've been reading about Anthony Edwards a little bit. The guy is the real deal in terms of potential.
He's got potential,
so if you're looking for a star, this could well be it. And at least for a year, you get him cheap.
Yeah, it'll be. Like I said, it's too bad, and I have to admit I didn't watch much of the draft on Wednesday night. I kind of had it in the periphery, but of course Minnesota high schoolers. Boys that played high school basketball did pretty good.
Well, you had Zeke Naninji from Hopkins, and Tyrell Terry from De La Salle. He went to Dallas, and our good friend Daniel Turu from Cretan Durham Hall will join Amir Coffey with the LA Clippers. And I saw that Clippers team play this year, and watching a couple of Gophers won't hurt.
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah.
And then, of course, Trey Jones.
And Trey Jones, he wound up at San Antonio from Apple Valley, from Duke. A lot of these kids are so young, they go in for that year and then they bail.
Yeah, it'll be interesting. Trey, somebody, I think in the Minneapolis paper, they said today he could be a sleeper type thing. It's possible. I worry about his size, but who knows?
And they talked about Edwards, and they says, he's only 6'5", shooting guard, but he plays a lot bigger than 6'5", and he can elevate and he can go to the basket. He might be a real exciting kid to watch. And then they have Leandro Balmaro. He's from Barcelona.
I'm glad you tried to say that because I wasn't going there.
Balmaro. Leandro Balmaro. Let's go, Leandro. He is 20 years old. He doesn't shoot particularly well. And they
got that problem from Spain. We just brought another guy back that we'll talk about in a minute that can't shoot the ball either. But
and so they figure they might scoot him back to Spain and give him another year to
there's
play
nothing
ball
wrong with that.
No, there isn't. He wouldn't make it.
He's only 20.
He's only 20 years old. And then they have Jaden McDaniels. Now he's a 6'11" power forward, but he can't shoot very well either. And so he's from Washington, but I think they're looking at the size and the potential and all the rest of that.
You never know what you're going to get.
You don't know what you're going to get, and actually, he wound up being drafted higher than Daniel Oturu, and we like Daniel.
We like Daniel, absolutely, we do.
Yeah.
And what about Mr. Rubio?
Well, Mr. Rubio is gone. No, isn't he?
No, he's back.
He's back.
That's how we got. That's what we did. We traded out of 17, moved down to 25 and 28,
got Rubio back?
And we got Rubio back.
Well, he was always fun to watch.
Well, and somebody said to me, he's gotten better over the last 5 years since he left 5 years ago. He's gotten better. Well, I hope he's gotten better. I'm.
Well, you remember when he broke into the league? He did so many things well. He was. I mean, he just moved, had all the action and all the rest of that. Then he got hurt. And had that knee rebuilt, and he kind of slacked off. So, he's a crazy Spaniard. We like him.
He can't shoot, but he likes to drive, and he does his thing. And, a couple of years ago, Utah made a run at the playoffs, and he was part of that. And he was in Phoenix, and he really wanted to stay in Phoenix. And when they traded him to OKC the other day, apparently he was very unhappy. Well, I haven't heard him say how unhappy he is to have to come back to Minnesota where it's 25 below in the middle of the winter. But he's from Spain, and it's pretty warm in Spain. And you think he liked Phoenix because it was about 2 jillion degrees there? I think so. So I'm interested to see what kind of attitude Ricky Rubio comes on to this team with. You would hope at some point that the Wolves are going to move over the hump and be like a 500 and above team rather than a below 500
Rubio not
team.
only has to be a real good basketball player, but that team needs a leader.
Yeah.
And that's if he's going to be the quarterback in the backcourt.
Can him and Cat get on the same page? Because everybody knows Cat. It's Cat's team. They've done everything to appease him.
Yeah.
And they put all their stock in him, and he's made some things happen. I think players have gone the way of the world, and because of him, and it's time that he starts to put up where it's going to. Yeah.
Well, and how old is he now? He's got to be 28, 29, 30 years old. He's
Cat must be 24,
25. I was
maybe.
Thinking about Mario.
Rubio's 30.
Rubio.
Rubio's 32.
32.
Yeah, he's 32 now.
Oh, then he's there.
Yeah, he's reached maturity.
He has reached maturity.
So, what would you like to? Anything else on the NBA draft that stuck out? Not really, not for me.
Not really, but then the free agent draft starts today. It's going to be amazing. That is going to be an absolute nut house.
Who knows what's going to happen there?
That throws it the big deal. Everybody's jockeying for position and money.
Yeah, and there's lots of it out there still. Even though they're complaining that they don't have any, they somehow they're going to find these jillions of dollars to spend.
They don't put people in the stands. I don't know. I don't quite figure the numbers out on that one.
ESPN still must be doling out the big bucks.
They've got to be.
TNT still. Well, every one of them. Even though the ratings are down, they know that. That's where it's all done at. So. Gopher hockey got the sweep. I don't even want to talk about Gopher hockey. I told Eli last night when the Gophers were playing Penn State, he's like, well, who's playing? And I said, the Gophers, who we don't like, Eli. I'm trying to teach him right. We don't like Gopher hockey. We like Bulldog hockey. That's just the way it is.
Remember,
I love Gopher everything else. Whatever else, Gopher, whatever we can be talking about, Gopher tiddlywinks, I'm right behind them. But when it comes to Gopher hockey, they're the worst, okay? Just understand that's where Tim stands. And, of course, they were playing Penn State, and Eli likes just about anybody who wears blue. So it didn't take long for me to get him to start voting for Penn State last night when we watched the few minutes of the Penn State hockey game. But the Gophers came in ranked 11th in the nation, Penn State 10th. And the Gophers got the sweep at home, and they played this afternoon, so they can get out of the way for the Gopher football game because there's so many people, or what?
I don't know. This is the 100th anniversary of Gopher hockey. And now my trivia question for you is, in 1935, who was the goalie on the 1935? You won't know it, but you do know the name. You know who it is. But that was Bud Wilkinson, the All-American on the football team, and he too sported it, and he went off the football field and became the goalie for the Gophers.
I did not know that. Wow, where'd you pick up that tidbit?
On the TV when they were running for the 100th. No, either they were on the computer, but it was. Wow, and I looked up, and that's Bud Wilkinson, and I know him because my football coach played with him, and of course Bud Wilkinson went on to become, well, how iconic do you want to be, and had at Oklahoma the 58 wins. Yeah. And then I got to tell you, this one thing is they got beat by Notre Dame, and Bronco Nagurski Jr. was part of that team. And when I asked him, I says, "You were on the bunch that beat Wilkinson's team, wasn't it?" "Yes." That's all he said. Yes.
Yeah, that's right.
So yeah. Anyway, that was Bud. But I just thought, a lot of those athletes were pretty good athletes all the way around, and Bud, no doubt, was the rest.
So college hockey gets underway here this weekend. Big Ten, Notre Dame played last week against Wisconsin, if I remember right.
Yeah.
And then the Big Ten kind of gets into full swing this week, and then. Of course, the teams that we care about, UMD and such, the NCHC gets started in the pod, they're calling it, not a bubble, a pod, down in Omaha, excuse me. In a couple of weeks, they'll get started. They'll be like college hockey like every day. Like on Tuesday night, there'll be games going on. So it'll be fun. If you're a college hockey fan, you really can't beat it.
No, and I do feel bad for especially the youth hockey players that are going to have to take a rest from their. I know this is prime hockey time.
Wow, your grandsons
are just, and they're showing me their jerseys, but we can't play of it. Yeah, I know. It's a tough time for kids in sports.
And I think, obviously Minnesota's the state of hockey, and so the hockey has gotten a lot of press, but think about all the basketball players and the wrestlers. I think about like out in western and southern Minnesota, how big wrestling is. Think about those kids not getting to wrestle. I mean, they wrestle all summer just like the hockey players. And I know hockey gets a lot of the love and the attention at this point, but obviously I know in this town it was already had been decided before Walls had done this that if the school was going to go distance learning, that the basketball players were going to have to quit. But they had to debate whether hockey was still going to be going on, and I'm kind of like, wait a minute now. We're talking about facilities here, and so depending upon which sport you are, this one gets to play and this one doesn't. I found that one a little hard to digest, even though my son plays hockey. Whatever. Of course, I think they knew the rumor was that it was just going to be indoor sports that were going to get canceled, youth sports, and I think somebody said, hey. What about outdoor? They're gonna go practice their hockey outdoors, and they're gonna just keep doing what they've been doing. And so I think that's why the outdoor part of it went away as well. And I obviously a lot of football games got changed this past week, high school wise. A lot of games got canceled due to other things. A lot of games got moved from Saturday to Friday night. There's a lot of games being played as we speak right now that are ending the season. Some scary ones. Crosby Arrington, who beat the Broncos on Tuesday night in kind of shocking fashion in the second half. The Broncos led 16-6 at half, and then Crosby actually came out and just
right off.
They couldn't stop them. It was like two different teams.
Yeah.
Well, they just beat Mesabi East 30-6 this afternoon. I don't know what happened to Mesabi East. They were a different team second half of the year. I don't know if they had kids hurt, got kids that had the virus. But Greenway beat Green Bay beat Virginia. Like 32-6 today.
Yeah.
I'm just like, we watched them play up here, and I had one of the guys say to me, it doesn't even look like Green Bay wants to be here. Well, something must have been going on, because whatever happened, they played pretty well when they won the other day, and so it's crazy how sometimes things happen at playoff time, even in this time. So obviously the volleyball season came to an end last night for the Broncos. They ended up 1-8 for the season. The Broncos football team ended up 3-4, and so those seasons come to a close, and now we take 4 weeks off, and December 18th/19th, somewhere in there, we'll see if the curve has dipped down like it did the last time they shut down the restaurants and bars and all this other stuff. And I know a lot of people having fits about why are you picking on certain things and not on other things. And just like we're doing right here.
Yep.
We've got no covering on while we're talking. When you're in a restaurant, a bar, you don't have the covering on. When you're in a retail store, this is Tim's opinion now, you got your face covering on. Some people don't believe in it, but that's I believe the reason why certain things are closed and certain things are open.
I'm not allowed out of the house without a mask.
So, so there it is. So basketball and boys hockey were set to start on Monday. And obviously they're going to get pushed back 4 weeks, and same thing when all those basketball starts. So the ADs will be busy rescheduling and putting things back together, and the radios and TVs and local stations will be figuring their stuff out and revamping their schedules, and we'll see what happens.
We will.
This is going to sound awful, and I probably shouldn't say it, but I'm going to say it anyway. Lou Holtz got tested positive for COVID, and he said, "I feel really horrible." And I'm like, you shouldn't have been out flaunting yourself earlier a couple weeks ago. I'm just like,
and he's of an age where
you shouldn't be out there flaunting it.
No. So and I right now, in terms of my whole situation, I'm going to hang on in here till they come up with a shot, and then they're going to say, okay, have at it, and that's going to happen between now and next summer.
At some point.
But meanwhile, we have to take care of first responders. We have to take care of the kids, and I think we got to get rid of this stuff about the kids are immune from the virus or don't have an effect from the virus, because it's killing them, and it's and
I think everybody's like, well, all this other stuff. The number one thing is hospitals.
Yeah. Staff. Where are you going to staff these?
You can't get into some of these hospitals because they're full and whatever else. So I know if you don't believe it, you don't believe it, and there's reasons why. But to me, here we sit without a mask on. But to me, hospitals being packed to the gills it's bad for everything.
It is.
And the rest of it. So anyway, anything else sports-wise?
I got a couple of obituaries.
Jeez.
Last night we lost Jake Scott.
Yeah.
And Jake Scott fell and down a stairway and laid in a kind of a semi-coma, and that's how they found him. And he scooted him to the hospital, and he died. And then the other one I'd like to say is a celebration of life, but this man celebrated his life real well without us, and that's the golden boy, Paul Hornung. Hornung came out of Kentucky as a high schooler in 1952. Why do I know this? But he went to Notre Dame as a quarterback, and in 1956 was the Heisman Trophy winner. Notre Dame won 2 games that year, and that's the first time that they'd had a Heisman Trophy winner on such a losing team.
Okay.
And then he got drafted, and he went to the Green Bay Packers and tried to play a couple of years at quarterback there, and that wasn't kind of working out. And then this guy named Bart Starr kind of came in and slid out, and they looked at Paul Hornung and said, "Option pass," and turned him into a legendary halfback. He and Jim Taylor stomped the NFL for a number of years, and he was the type of guy, he would say, "I'm here for a good time," and him and his friend Max McGee would break all the rules that they possibly could as long as they were performing.
Yeah.
But he was a great guy. I loved him as an announcer for the Vikings. He did that for years and
I
years.
did not know that he was an announcer. I wasn't born until 1969.
Yeah.
Okay, and I'm getting older, but the first time I remember seeing Paul Hornung was on CBS doing color there.
Yeah.
And little did I realize that when he passed the other day, and they said that he actually had done color for 5 years for the Vikings. I'm like, what?
Well, this was George Foreman's days, and he would always keen the term A/B circle routes, and that the two backs would come out of the halfback position and circle around, and he'd say, "Oh, there's that A/B circle. George Foreman runs the A/B circle better than anybody," and he did.
Yeah.
He was a very fine receiver, but Hornung was really good. One time I was getting off the ship. It was in Chicago. And I get on an airplane to fly to Minneapolis, and I go through the VIP section, and there he is, sitting in the aisle. "You're Paul Hornung." "Yes, I am." Big smile on his face. He looked like he was always having a real good time. Yeah. And I just want to say, to all the Hornungs, if there's any around, you had a good one.
Yeah, good times, no doubt about that. So.
And then my last guy is not an athlete at all, but that's Jerry Jeff Walker, passed a couple weeks ago, and that was my Mr. Bojangles man. And so when you ask if I've been playing, I've been playing Walker, it would be Up Against the Wall, Redneck Mothers. I mean, all those really classic party tunes that I remember from the old days. So anyway, but I felt real bad about Paul Hornung, and then I started remembering some of the stories. He wrote a book one time, and I read that when I was a kid, and I just thought, I never once thought, geez, you could be like Paul Hornung, but I always thought I could party that way. Yeah, so.
Absolutely. So what have you been reading? We now know what you've been listening to up in the solarium. What have you been reading?
Well, the book that I'm reading is still a continuation. It's called Neptune's Inferno, and it's the story of the 5-month battle for Guadalcanal, naval battle. And this is in Guadalcanal in 1942. 5 sailors for every soldier were killed. It was
Wow.
really incredible stories. Anyway, this is the type of book. I have a Jane's Directory of World War II books. Great big book. Every boat that fought in World War II is listed in this. So all the destroyers and everything. So I bring out my Janes because when they mention 25 or 30 ships, you kind of follow along it. So it takes a little bit longer to read, and very analytical. James Hornfisher wrote it, and it's just an excellent book. I got a Navy friend of mine that can't wait for me to get done. He said, "When are you going to get done with that?" I said, "It just takes a little time." So that's what I've been reading.
Okay.
And then the other thing I have to is my wife likes Taj Mahal, the musician, and so I've been pulling out some old Taj Mahal albums. They're really, really in good shape. Probably haven't been played in 25 years. So instead of rock and roll or blues, I've been playing her some picking by Taj Mahal.
Interesting.
It placates her a little bit.
Very good. Anything else?
I can't think of anything. I'm going into as soon as we get done here, I'm going into the world of football, and I won't get out until sometime Sunday.
Yeah, the Gophers, I just looked at the TV, 7 minutes and 50 seconds it said until the Gophers kick off against the Purdue Boilermakers. So let's go Gophers, and happy Thanksgiving to everybody, because we probably won't have a show before that. So try to enjoy it the best you can with maybe what little family you have, but because
our family's staying away. We're going to be alone,
exactly.
But there's a lot of football games on, so after Thanksgiving we'll have to have a show just to talk.
Maybe next Friday night or something. I'm busy on Friday, but maybe Friday evening, a week from tonight, maybe we'll get zoomed up and we'll talk about what went on Thursday, and we'll see if the Gophers pulled some magic out and beat Purdue tonight. Anything else?
Have a good weekend.
Hey, thanks. Thanks, everybody.
Weekend.